Artificial intelligence is transforming the way we work, the way we communicate, the way we create. But how do we make sure we're getting the best results? Well, the secret lies in the prompt. And today, we're diving into the art and science of crafting the perfect prompt for generative AI. Whether you're using AI for business, content creation, problem solving, whatever it is, our guest today will help you understand how to structure your input and how that can make the difference between mediocre and mind-blowing results. And to do this, I'm pleased to welcome a regular guest, Dean Mercado, who knows a lot about AI. Dean, hello.
Hey, Jeff, good to be with you, man.
Good to be with you again as well. I tell you what, Dean, this AI topic you and I have done several episodes on this, but I think we're kind of backing up here and we're going to talk about using it from the very beginning, like when you open your platform, your AI, your favorite AI tool, what you do with it from the start.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And I liken it to one step backwards to take 10 steps forward, and sometimes we need to do that in business and in life, right?
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what a prompt is and why this is an important topic?
Before I dive into that, let me preface this by saying there is one question I get asked all the time by people, and it's, is this AI thing going to take jobs? Are we going to lose jobs? The short answer is, yeah, there will be a lot of jobs that will be lost. But those who will make themselves uh, unfireable, always moving forward, are those who are going to know how to work with AI. They're going to know how to ask for what they want out of AI. And so a lot of those jobs are going to be the ones that are going to be built. So it's like anything else in history. Some things are going to change. It doesn't mean that people are no longer going to be necessary. We are all necessary. Our ability to adapt to this future, to this current, present, it's no longer the future, is critically important. Now, that being said, to answer your question, Jeff, about what a prompt is basically what you say to an AI, like a generative AI, like a ChatGPT or a Gemini or a Claude. What do you ask it for? How do you communicate with it? That's the prompt, right? So you want to prompt the AI to get out of the AI what it is you're looking for, right? So the better you get at learning how to create a proper, a thorough, prompt is going to make all the difference in the types of responses you get out of AI. And I always liken it to garbage in, garbage out, right? That's the way it goes. Garbage in, garbage out, or is it coal in and diamonds out if you do it right? One way or the other, however you want to look at it. If you feed it garbage, you're going to get garbage, and you'll throw your hands in the air. Oh, this AI thing doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Yes, it does. I use it every day. I use it throughout my entire day, doing things you couldn't even imagine doing with AI, possibly, unless you're a very heavy user like I am. So, those things being said, one of the things we came up with here at Online Marketing Muscle was a little bit of a 8-step prompt formula. And we unveiled that prompt formula at the most recent ISSA mega event in Las Vegas this past year. And it went over big time. The audience loved it. They resonated with it. And I got a lot of that's exactly what I needed kind of responses out of people. So I figured, let me bring that here and let's just get it out there to as many people as we can, because we don't want this to be a secret. We want people to succeed with this stuff. If they succeed with this stuff, then my purpose in business gets fulfilled as well, which is like, hey, I'm trying to get people to be able to grow and scale. I'm all about energizing small business success. This is one of the ways that I do that. So why don't we dive in, Jeff? Let's take on this formula. We'll start with the first one. Now, I want you to imagine a prompt. It could be a sentence long. It could be a paragraph long. Typically, if you want really good results, it might be multiple paragraphs. Again, the better the information I feed into a chat GPT or a Gemini or a Claude or a Perplexity, the better the output, right? So the first piece of input, I always want to make sure that I'm giving, and you could look at these as a checklist also. These 8 items as 8 checklist items. The first is your persona, what I call your persona, persona. And what I mean by that is in the persona statement that you're going to give it. You're going to define the perspective or the role you'd like AI to adopt on your behalf. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, you want to tell it, hey, think like a PR professional. If you're looking to do a PR piece, you're going to say, hey, act like a top 10 commercial cleaning business owner here in the United States. You're giving it that perspective of who you want it to behave like, and remember, AI has learned from the entire internet. It's been feeding and feeding and feeding on whatever exists on this World Wide Web, as well as everything people like me keep feeding it every day. So it knows what I'm talking about. If I say, hey, think like a PR professional, it kind of has an idea of what I mean when I say that, right? But by me being clear and setting that perspective for the AI, it understands the frame of mind I want it to be in, right? So if I was writing an SOP as a residential cleaning company, I would tell it to act like a top 10 residential cleaning company owner, right? Here in the United States, so I'm setting that persona. Step 2. And actually, let me give you an example of a statement. Would that be helpful, Jeff?
Yeah, do that.
Okay. So for persona, I might say something like this. I might say, you are a seasoned PR strategist from one of the nation's top firms, like, for example, BCW, Edelman, or Evoke. These are big ones in New York City, right? Very reputable companies. And then I might say something like, with deep experience crafting a high impact press release for a small business. So I just gave it perspective on who I want them to be for me. I want you to show up as if I just hired, a consultant from Edelman, big bucks. You're hiring consultants from Edelman. But you know what? We have that ability to do that. Why? Because the people at Edelman have fed so much content to the internet that AI understands that and can go grab stuff from Edelman and look at how they think and how they do things. Very important. So that's why I really love establishing a persona first. At the end, Jeff, I'll put these all together in one prompt and ramble that off to people so they can get an idea of what that prompt might look like in totality, right? So that might be the first sentence or two of my prompt. Then the second step of this, I get into what I call context. You have to give the AI context of what it is. What's the background details? Set the scene, set the stage, right? Just like a movie does. You've got to set the stage for AI on what's going on, right? So an example I might use might be one like this: a respected local publication. And then I would give it the publication's name, right? I might say, just named our residential cleaning business. And then I would give it my company's name, right? XYZ Cleaning, right? The best cleaning company in, let's say, Greenville, South Carolina, right? You give it your neighborhood or your location. And then you say, for whatever the date, the month, the year, for 2024. 2025, whatever you want to say, right? This award highlights our commitment to exceptional service and quality. That would be the kind of a statement if I'm giving context. Hey, we just won this award from this prestigious, publication for this area in this time frame. That kind of stuff would be what I'd feed it, right? Then I'd go to step 3. And this is where we start giving, okay, this is what I want you to do. So we call this one the task. What's the task you want the AI to do? Okay, so we've given it a persona, we've given it context, and now I'm saying, here's what I want you to do, right? So the more we describe specifically, the more likely we're going to get exactly what we're asking for, right? If you're vague, you're going to get vague back. You don't want vague. Vague makes you sound like everybody else out there. All the garbage marketing that's going on today. You don't want that. So be specific, right? So I might give an example like this. Write a press release that announces our award win, emphasizing our dedication to excellence and boosts our reputation in the local market, right? So I'm kind of giving it that perspective again on what exactly I want it to do. Write the press release for me is basically what I'm telling it, but I'm giving it a little bit more than just saying, can you write me a press release? Now that could be your whole prompt. Write me a press release. AI is going to be like, for what? and it's going to give you a bunch of garbage back. But if you're specific, like I'm suggesting, that's going to be different for you. Now, step 4 here is what we call the exemplar or an example, right? We need to mention any examples, any styles, any models, anything that we wanted to take into consideration when writing. So one of the things that I would do is I would go out to Edelman or Evoke or one of these companies, and I'd grab one of their press releases and I'd paste that right in as an example, right in the same prompt, right? But if I didn't want to do that, I could simply say something like this, right? Model the style of professional celebratory press releases typical of local news outlets, clear, engaging, and community-centric, right? Not bad, right? Giving it a little bit of meat, helping it understand, right? And I'm going to help you understand a little bit of how I came to all of this in a few moments, right? So here I'm trying to provide some references on style, right? Giving it some similar documentation to look at so it knows, okay, no, that's what you're looking for. So if you've ever written an SOP for yourself and you love the way you did that one, feed it to the AI and say, hey, write this next one just like I did the first one. So when I have AI in my own business helping us with our SOPs, I feed it my template. Here's my template, put it in my template. And here's my voice. Make sure it sounds exactly like Dean, and if it doesn't, I'm going to kick it back, right? So, and that's the one thing too, folks, you could keep going at AI and it'll never get angry with you. You could keep telling it this stinks, do it again. And it'll just do it over and over and over until you finally get what you want. But I've done that a lot. I've banged my head against the wall. I've cursed, I've screamed, I've kicked, and I'm telling you, just come up with a better prompt, right? So giving it an example is step 4. Step 5 is the format. What's the format you're looking for to produce for you? Now, here you're going to choose a structure such as a list, a paragraph format, an outline. What are you looking for from it, right? An SOP, a press release, right? Now some of these steps are not going to be necessary, or you're going to combine them with other steps. Like I already told it, I was looking for a press release. Do I need to give it another more information on format? Probably not, especially if I gave it an example. But if I use it as a checklist, I'm saying, did I tell it what format? Oh, yeah, I did, right? So I might give an example like this. I might say structure the release with 1, a compelling headline, 2, an engaging subheadline, 3, a strong opening statement, 4, detailed body text that includes background information and key details, and lastly, 5, a closing call to action and invites new customers to get in touch. I could say something like that, and it just gives that meat. So that was step 5, what format I want this thing in. Now I'm telling it the format of the output that I'm looking for, right? Step 6, this one is mandatory all the time. This is voice. What's the voice you want it to use when it's creating whatever it's creating for you? So it sets the tone, sets the personality you want the response to convey on your behalf, right? So you're gonna define that. You're gonna use really clear words like friendly, formal, inspiring, professional. What are you looking to sound like, right? Better yet, I like to train AI with my own voice. This way I don't have to come up with fancy words that I'm not sure really fit. AI helps me figure out exactly how I sound and how I come across. And sometimes it's not what I think. That's the beauty of AI. It's not looking to become your best friend. It's looking to give you feedback and input based on what you're giving it. So an example I might use for my voice might be keep the tone professional, yet enthusiastic, warm, and community focused, right? That alone will at least start moving it in the direction. I know in the residential cleaning space, I know a lot of folks there who I've got using AI. They like to use a friendly tone. So they'll go after, they'll put that in there typically. Friendly yet professional tone. That usually works well in the residential space, at least. And commercial, you're dealing with businesses. So you have to come across professional, right? But you want to come across as engaging, and so on and so forth. Now, number 7 of this is our timeline. Mention any relevant timing. That's where you do it, or deadlines for this content. Anything that, as far as time constraints that need to be included. This is not one that's always needed in your prompts, but if there are any specific times, dates, make sure that they're in here, right? An example might be this award is hot off the press, right? Ensure the release reflects immediate, timely news by referencing the month and that the award was received, right? So that's just me pointing that out. And again, I'd rather be a little redundant with AI than be too vague. It only takes me a matter of a minute to a minute and a half to write this prompt once I know how to write it and I use these 8 pieces. So think about that. That's, this is, it's not a lot. It sounds like a lot when I'm throwing at you, but it's not. It really isn't. And step number 8 that I'm going to give you are any additional key points, any main elements that must also be included. What else do you want to make sure that it gives you in the output? Right? So, for example, I might say, be sure to include our company name, and then I would tell it our company name. I'd say, be sure to include the award title, and I would give it the exact award title, maybe in quotes. I would say, be sure to include a brief company background, emphasizing our commitment to quality service in the community. I might also tell it, another key point I might make is a standout quote from the owner of the company, right? And if I have a quote, I could create one. If I needed help with that quote, I would put that in there and say, I need a little help creating a quote. Can you add a quote from me in this? That kind of thing. And it will, right? So, and then maybe some sort of call to action, inviting new customers to contact us or new prospects out there to contact us or where to find us, that kind of stuff. Now, those are your 8 components. In a nutshell, they are persona rather, context, task, the exemplar, the format, the voice, the timeline, and any key points you want added. Now, again, not every one of those is mission critical. Persona, yeah. Context, yeah. Task, yeah. And voice, yeah. Those 4, I would say absolutely. If you want to start getting better results, make sure you put those key points, right? Because you got to give it an idea of where you're going with this. What do you want, right? So, thoughts and questions on that so far, Jeff? The 8 components.
So it sounds like to make AI work for you the way you want, you're going to have to work yourself. You're going to have
Yeah, a
to
little
give
bit.
it stuff
Yeah.
quite a bit, maybe at first. So my question, Dean, is once you've done this, once you've told it over and over again about yourself, about your company, and it's written these press releases, is it going to learn and then maybe you don't have to do as much prompting in the future? Is that the goal?
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. It will learn. Now you can, again, and this is why I like at least the minimum paid plan on your chat GPTs, because it does remember a lot of what you feed into it, right? You also have the ability to, in the settings of these AI tools, to add some more context. Like for example, I put my voice in there. So when I say write in my voice, write in the voice of Dean Mercado, it knows exactly what I mean. And I've fed it numerous pieces of content penned by me. Also, like Jeff, I fed it content of you and me speaking on one of these things. So it understands based on how I speak. So it could give me a much more conclusive, refined idea of what I want to sound like. So
Hmm.
yes, the AI is intelligent. It does learn, right? What I end up doing is I end up formulating little snippets that I save in a little side document somewhere. And I know, hey, before I have it help me write a blog post, I usually feed these 3, 4 little paragraphs in there to give it perspective. And boom, boom, boom. So I might say, hey, before I ask you to write or help me write a blog post, take these 3 things into consideration first. And I give it boom, boom, boom. And it says, okay, I'm ready. I got it. Now it's ready to go.
Yeah. AI is not perfect, that's for sure. The other day I needed to take a logo, a company logo, and remove the background so it's transparent. And the site I normally use, which I buy credits for and I pay for, was down. And I'm like, I got to get this done. So I thought, oh, I opened ChatGPT. I went to the image generator, whatever it is, and I put the image in. I said, remove the background, make this a transparent logo. And it gave me the same exact picture back. And I said, no, I need a transparent logo. And it said, give me a minute, said something, and then it gave me the right one. So
Right.
it's almost like a person, like, no, no,
Yes,
no, not that one. Do it again.
exactly.
And it gave me exactly what I needed. So I thought that was a learning moment, Dean, where I realized maybe I don't need to pay for these credits on this one site because my Chat GPT, which I pay the fee for that every month, does it for me. So you talked about generative text
Hmm.
today. There's so much more and so many prompts for images, for videos, for slides that you can use as well. So this conversation is not limited to
That's correct.
written word. It could be
That's
many
right.
things.
So even if I was going to have it generate an image for me, I would still look to these 8
Right.
components to make sure I'm giving it the right perspective, the right detail, so that it knows what I'm looking for. So if I'm creating an image, I want to tell it in what style, right? Otherwise, it's just going to create whatever it happens to be on its mind at the moment. If I want a cartoon style, or something circa 1950s style, I could tell it that and I'll get that. Like one of my more recent blog posts, I wanted the concept of like an old Italian guy with a little curly mustache throwing spaghetti at a wall to see what sticks. And because I gave it such good detail, it produced some pretty good image for me, which is up on my blog. I used it. Why
It's
not?
you. It's a picture
Yeah,
of you.
it's perfect, right? So yeah, it's garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
What we're talking about here applies to a lot of things and the creation side of AI, whether it's creating presentations, like you said, imagery, like you said, um, content, emails, blogs, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's all relevant. Now, to get the most out of it, I'm going to give you another little trick that I use, or another little thing that I do. I call it the Mac approach, MAC. It's an acronym. And the Mac approach basically stands for mentor is the M, A is the assistant, right? And C is the critic. Now, I ask AI to play all 3 roles for me, one at a time. So when I'm first trying to figure out what I want, I'll ask it to mentor me. Hey, throw on your mentor hat. Help me figure out what do I need to, I'll even like the prompt you see and that I told you about here today. I asked it to tell me, what do I need to ask of you? I want an 8-step prompt process, and I went back and forth with it over a while and then compared that to what we were doing, fed it what we were doing. And that's how I came up with my 8. But I ask it to mentor me. So if I'm looking to write a blog post, I would ask it, hey, what do I need to provide you in order to come up for you to help me write a great blog post? So it mentors me. It tells me exactly what it needs. So after I have it mentor me and I'm clear on what I need to give it, then I say, okay, now you're my assistant. Now you're going to write it. Right. So first they're going to tell me, oh yeah, Dean, you should do this. Oh, no, I'm not going to do it. I want you to do it. So first mentor me and tell me what I need. Then I'm going to tell you, do it for me. Right. And then after it produces that content for me, I'm going to then assign it the critic role. And I'm going to say, okay, now critique it. Tell me how to improve it. What's missing? What doesn't need to be here? Right? So these are what I call an iterative process. So when I'm creating using AI as my sidekick, I ask it to mentor me first. Then you're going to become my assistant and give me that first draft. And then I'm going to have you critique it. And it does wonderfully with stuff like this. So even if you're doing SEO on your own website, ooh, big one, folks. You could take the copy of your page, paste it into AI and say, here's what I got. Now mentor me, what needs to be here? If this is my target market, this is what I provide, this is what I do. What's missing? What needs to be here? And it'll tell you, oh, you need these 8 sections on this page. Okay, great. Now here's the copy I have. Take what I have, but write something for me, and it'll write something for you. And then I'll push even further and say, now critique it. How do we make it even better? What's missing? Pretend in my persona, I say things like, pretend you're an SEO guru from XYZ company, you know, um, critique it for me. What's wrong with this page SEO wise? So this applies to so many areas. If you start thinking in iterations, if you're thinking that you're going to put in information, a prompt once and get something perfect back, you're crazy. It isn't going to happen that way. Just like you, Jeff, you said you didn't get the right image at first. Yeah. It's just like humans. Sometimes we don't listen correctly, and it's like, hello, anybody in there? It's not what I asked you, kind of a thing. Can you try again? Right. And again, the good thing is AI will never argue back. It's going to say, oh, sure. Yeah, no problem. And it's starting to sound more human and human. It comes back at me like, hey, oh, sorry, my fault. It comes back at me sometimes with things like that. And I'm like, okay, but fix it, So,
Yeah.
So a lot of good to be had. So remember this Mac approach, right?
Mentor,
Remember,
assist, and critique.
yeah. So it's your mentor, it's your assistant, and it's your critic.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Those are three roles it plays. And it's great at that.
Because I do know when I put in a prompt, it'll ask me, can I do something better, or was this good or not? And it wants to, I say it wants, it's a machine, but it wants that feedback. And with that, you do get a better product. I've taken our entire transcripts, like here, Dean, that we're doing. I'll put it
Yes.
into AI, and I'll say something like, "Give me the top 5 bullet points of this conversation," or "Give me 10 good headlines for this." I
Right.
don't use it to write content because, as a journalist, that's the wrong
Yeah.
pathway. But as a marketing person, and everything you talked about, it's fantastic for that.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So, as a journalist, I mean, one of the things that I'll often use it for is to help me come up with the outline.
Right. Right.
This way I can, when I'm trying to wrap my head around what sections I need to write, I just need to, oh, okay, I need these 7 sections. And then as a writer, it makes it so much easier, and as I'm beginning the thought process of my next book, it's exactly what I'm doing. I know what I kind of want. I feed that in. What am I missing here? Kind of let it critique my outline. It gives me some ideas. Some I keep, most I throw away. But
Sure.
then at least I have that refined outline, and now I could start really writing.
Hmm.
So a lot of
Yeah.
possibility around this.
The only thing I think I have a question on is, and it might be another episode, is at the beginning you rattled off all kinds of platforms. You said Bard, ChatGPT, a couple of others.
Yeah, Claude,
Claude.
ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini. Um,
So people might wonder, which one should I use? I think you've defaulted to chat a few times since then. So would you like to talk about that before we close? Like which ones should we use?
I think let's touch on it briefly, and then maybe it is an episode in
Yeah.
itself because I think you and I could go down a rabbit hole and a half there.
All right.
Um,
So
but
quickly touch on it and we'll do an episode another time
yeah,
on this.
very simply, folks, it all depends on number one, what you're trying to accomplish. What are you trying to solve? Right? Any of those tools will give you a good response if you prompt better. So whether you're using Claude, whether you're using ChatGPT, they'll all give you a great response if your prompt is great. It's really that simple. They're all going to tell you that I'm better than that one and mine is no. They're
Okay.
they're all, you know, they're
So
all good. You could
so
stick with a ChatGPT for $20 a month, Claude for $20 a month. You're good to go. You're going to
so
get pretty much everything you need.
from what you said, it sounds like pick one and use it, but don't bounce around. You want the one you use to learn from you. Is that true?
Yeah. 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 Absolutely.
Okay.
But I use a lot of them and don't do what I do in this case because I teach this stuff. I have to know about all these other alternatives. If I'm going to teach somebody, hey, you got to use this tool for that, I want to make sure I'm giving them the right tool and that I'm not just telling them the one popular one that's out there.
Right.
Yeah. ChatGPT is the big guy and the big elephant in the room. Yeah. No doubt about it.
Well,
But
Elon Musk wants it.
yeah. And a lot of people are going to want it. And it's really Man, from I think, Jeff, from a year ago when we first started talking about this to now, you use the tool, you see a little difference,
Oh, a big
right?
difference. Yes. So, folks, we're
Unbelievable.
about out of time, but don't do what Dean does. Do what Dean says.
Yeah, I like that. All right, man.
All right. Until next time, Dean, thank you.
You bet. We'll talk soon.